we Europeans are responsible for these atrocities in Gaza. And my question to my friends, especially in Germany, who object to the use of the term genocide for what's happening in Rafah as we speak, is this. For how long are you going to permit your guilt over the Holocaust to justify, to legitimize, and to weaponize the genocide of the Palestinian people? How many rivers of Palestinian blood need to flow before you feel cleansed of your guilt over the Holocaust? We have to stop sitting on the fence, because that makes us complicit in a crime against humanity. The Israeli right has managed to hide behind the specter of the Holocaust with immense efficiency to co-opt social democrats, liberals, progressives, anti-fascists in a manner that their own fascism, the fascism of the Zionist right, of the Netanyahus, of Likud, they've succeeded in effectively gaining immunity. In Germany today, you can only talk about genocide if you support it. Israeli ministers are completely free to talk about a greater Israel from the river to the sea. That's genocide of the Palestinians. But if you oppose the genocide, you cannot talk about it. And that is all done under the cloak of identifying anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism. Once upon a time, that would not have been possible. Once upon a time, Willy Brandt, the Social Democrat chancellor in Germany, or Bruno Kreisky, the equivalent in Austria, talked very sensibly about the need, on the one hand, to support the Jews' right to live in peace and without fear of anti-Semitism in a manner that is balanced out by Palestinian rights. Today, that is simply not possible. Our leaders in the West have to understand that they cannot be liberal, they cannot be democratic, if they support the idea of an exclusively Jewish state. What would they say if I were to support an exclusively Greek Orthodox Greece? I think that I would be immediately denounced as anti-European, anti-liberal, anti-democratic, a xenophobe. Bear that in mind. For centuries, we Europeans, not just the Germans or the British, we have collectively persecuted the Jewish people. We have effected one pogrom after the next. And then at some point, we, the powers that be in Europe, decided that this is a time to farm out the Jews to a land which is declared empty, along with the Zionist ideology. Zionism started with a slogan, a land without a people, for a people without a land. That harks back to white settlement. When the British disembarked in today's New South Wales in Australia, they declared Australia to be terra nullius, an empty land. By assumption, the Aborigines, the natives, were not humans. And then they proceeded towards their genocide to take over the land. The Zionist slogan, a land without a people, is again the first step towards the dehumanization of natives and essentially a proclamation of a genocide. We Europeans need to take responsibility for what is happening across the land of Palestine, from the river to the sea. I don't care about what kind of state solution we have. Universal human rights from the river to the sea, for the Jews, for the Palestinians, for the Bedouins, for everyone. The manner in which the Western media have been presenting in juxtaposition the war in Palestine, the massacre in Palestine, because there isn't even a war, this is just straightforward massacre, with the war in Ukraine. It is as if they wanted to put on display their toxic cynicism and hypocrisy. When a hospital is bombed in Mariupol, which we should condemn, that is a crime against humanity. When Putin switches off the electricity supply in Ukraine, it is a crime against humanity.
Are we really going to sit by watching these appalling war crimes being committed? Are we going to watch innocent civilians being slaughtered? Or are we going to do something to actually stop Putin and stop him soon?
When a hospital gets bombed in Gaza City, it's self-defense. It was inevitable. What can we do? The inevitable repercussion of the Palestinians' own guilt. When Israel switches off the water supply, not even the electricity supply, the water supply, the press present this as the inevitable solidarity of the West to Israel.
There are 2.3 million people squeezed into a 32-mile stretch of land without power, without water, without food. You cannot deprive the Israelis and Netanyahu of the urge for revenge. They are going to take awful revenge. You cannot blame the Israelis. And I'll tell you what they're going to do to Gaza. They're going to turn it into a car park.
For centuries, we've known that the powerful like to discriminate between fashionable victims and unfashionable victims. The victims of our friends and the victims of our enemies. But never before have we had a global media campaign for violating the very basic principles of truth-telling and genuine reporting of facts on the ground. The West talks about total victory of Israel and total victory of Ukraine. There can be no total victory in either battlefield. A sane humanity would pause and think about the rationality of never-ending wars. All these hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars, euros, and British pounds that are being spent on bombs, shells, rockets, drones, bullets, grenades that are killing children as we speak, both in Gaza but also in Ukraine, is testimony to the gross irrationality of our species, and in particular of the system of government that we have, which allows these decisions to be taken without any consultation of the people. Because I have no doubt that if the British people, if the German people, if the Russian people, if the American people were consulted, there is no chance in hell that they would condone this kind of expenditure. And we should realize that never-ending wars are the objective of arms dealers and of politicians like Netanyahu, like Putin, who do not want the war to end for one simple reason, because they will cease to be leaders of these corrupt regimes. Moody's recently downgraded Israel's credit rating. It's not going to make a difference today or tomorrow. But I remember the struggle against apartheid in South Africa. Those of us who were calling for a boycott, a series of sanctions and divestment, we were being met with derision. And I remember Barclays, Ford, and the whole of the financial sector in the City of London doing its utmost to ensure that the creditworthiness of South African white capital would not be jeopardized. The first signs that apartheid in South Africa was under pressure was when the credit rating of South Africa started being diminished. It was the first chink in the armor of apartheid. I truly hope that Moody's downgrading of the Israeli apartheid state and its economy is going to be a similar harbinger of the demise of the last apartheid state to be standing. In this day and age, it is of the utmost importance to support independent media who are covering the stories that the mainstream media either will never cover or they will poison with lies, innuendo, and subterfuge. So if you can, please support Double Down News on Patreon.